Well, the time has come. It's the end of spooky season. It's Halloween. So I I'm reviewing Halloween. Not I mean, not the holiday, but the movie. The original one from 1978. The original Halloween, directed by John Carpenter, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance, and Kyle Richards. Which is something we don't really think about a lot right now. Or we wouldn't have until I think maybe Real Housewives came out. Probably just would have stopped with Curtis and Pleasance and been like, "Yep, that was all. That's all that came out of this movie." But enough people know who Kyle Richards is now for me to say that openly and remind them that Kyle Richards was in this movie. And it's not my first time seeing it, so don't worry. But it is the first time with audio description. This was narrated by Tansy Alexander and the good folk at Zoo Digital, where every day is a zoo day. I don't know what I was doing there, but this is a classic film. I mean, what am I going to say at a Halloween that hasn't already been said before? Tansy is great. Tansy's one of my favorite narrators. It's so funny for me to hear her like have to say things. There's so many like oddly specific moments in the audio description. Like, for example, like one of Michael's kills involves he kills multiple naked girls in this because it's the 70s. You know, I'm sure like nowadays people would be like, we can't have that. You know, the girls have to be fully clothed. We can't exploit female nudity. So I'm like, well, okay, but this is 1978, so it was a different time. And I know people hate that, but that is true. It works its way all the way back, too. You can be like, what were those Romans doing? I don't know. It was a different time. And I have no idea. They didn't have microwaves. So, for example, or refrigerators. It was a very different time. 1970, I don't know. They didn't have the internet, you know, or social media. So I don't know what it was like. Must have been weird. But this is what they felt like doing. So it allows Tansy Alexander to have narration where she's talking about smearing blood over nipples. How the blood smears over nipples. And I'm just like, I've heard her on a lot of things. I love the specificity here. We have to make sure the blood goes over the nipples. But at the same time, I'm kind of just like, what is she thinking? I want to know. When she's reading this, it's just like, damn it. I hate these movies. You know, she's having to read blood across the nipples. Yes, I mean, that is what's happening, so I am translating it. But damn it. It feels kind of like oddly tawdry for nowadays. Although I've had so many sex scenes narrated to me now, where everybody is thrusting. We gotta find another word, guys. We can't all be thrusting. Please just find something else. I'm so tired of hearing thrusting. I'm so tired. I'm just like anything. So this is the story of Michael Myers, who oddly is referred to as the Shape, even though pretty much you know it's Michael. I mean, I love the fact that this is like some sort of grand reveal later on in the film when his mask comes off for 2 seconds. He's like, it is Michael Myers. It's like, I don't know. Donald Pleasance has been wandering around the whole film looking for Michael Myers. We saw Michael at the beginning of the film in a kill sequence. I don't know who else you think the Shape might be, but I love that we just keep calling it the Shape, the whole movie, instead of Michael. And then finally, for a few seconds in the narration, he's like referred to as both Michael And the Shape, like, there are a couple times where he's referred to as Michael, and then he's also the Shape, because he's got to get his spray painted William Shatner mask back on. Um, and, yeah. This is a really good film, by the way. In case you're wondering, this is, this would, I would say, be the case to give John Carpenter an honorary Oscar if we have not done so already. I know it's never going to happen for him because he's John Carpenter and he lives in the horror genre. But not only did he create the film, but he also created the score, which is iconic. It's an iconic score that has lasted the test of time. You hear the Halloween score that I mean, like, you hear that and you're like, oh, Michael Myers is coming, you know? But also he did a really good job just selecting the songs. And it's something that really you don't pick up necessarily on the first watch. But when you come back through, like, this is, I don't know, at least my third time through on this, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where I, like, saw it. Technically, my first time was, like, I was, like, a little kid, and I was watching some, like, cable version where they cut away all the time. Or, like, I cut away. I was like, no, I'm too scared now. I've reached my maximum ability to handle this film. I definitely kind of feel like it was one of those films. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe I've seen it like 3.5 times. Something like that. Anyway. Yeah, but I really appreciated the scene, for example, when, like, Laurie's driving the car and, like, Michael's driving behind her and, like, Don't Fear the Reaper is playing. Like, what a great song choice for that moment, you know? There just really are not enough moments where we sit down and appreciate the fact that even in these little moments, because she's listening to the radio, it's not, nowadays, less skilled directors, they just throw it in as part of the movie's soundtrack. You know, they're just, like, blazing it in, and meanwhile they're just cruising along and Don't Fear the Reaper happens to be on the radio while Michael is following him in a car. I'm just like, man, that is chef's kiss, you know? It's John Carpenter on that one. Also, Michael driving a car. Like, what have we got going on here? Not that it's the only reference in the film to his ability to drive cars, but I feel like it's a lost art later on in the film. This is one of those things where Michael gets places only by walking really slowly, and if you make him walk fast at all, people get really upset. I think there was a film where he jogged for 2 seconds, and, like, everybody lost their minds. Like, he did like a slow jog, and I can't remember which Halloween movie it was, but, like, everybody was losing their mind. They were like, no, Michael Myers never jogs. He always walks. That's what makes him scary, is that he's able to walk and still appear wherever he needs to appear. And he's like, boom, I got here. How'd you get here? I don't know. Yeah. So, this is a really solid teen slasher that really builds on fear and dread, with the theme of the season, mixed with sort of local folklore, you know, of like, don't go into that house. Didn't you hear what happened there a long time ago? You know, like that kind of stuff where we get that. I think it's sad to sort of watch this after having watched David Gordon Green's trilogy. This is my first time seeing this since watching David Gordon Green's trilogy and seeing sort of what his interpretation of John Carpenter's films are like. And, like, it's like he watched this and he's like, well, this is what my takeaway was from it. And it's like, I don't know, is that really the takeaway, dude? I mean, His films are way more violent, and way bleaker and darker, which seems almost impossible when you're watching this movie. But the Michael, like later on, just kind of seems like he's increasingly nihilistic, and almost in ways that he's there to support others' voyeurisms, like the audience's voyeurisms. Here, he seems to be less involved with making sure that the audience enjoys the violence, as he is just following through on this sort of, as Donald Pleasance, as Dr. Loomis says, that this is the devil, or whatever, that he saw the devil in Michael, and creating that atmosphere. I think later on we're like, but what about the kills? How gnarly can we make them? Oh, let's cut off that dude's head and put it into a pumpkin. It's like, I don't know. I feel like he doesn't really make that effort here. No one gets decapitated in the first film, so pretty much everybody just gets stabbed. But there's so many like recurring themes about Michael being able to survive things, and Michael falling from great height and then just magically disappearing and walking away, like this sort of like weird super strength that he has. I haven't done the tally. I wonder if anybody has. I'm sure somebody has, about all of the things that have happened to Michael over the years. Especially if we ignore David Gordon Green and we just go the other way with it and be like, how many times over the years has he been like stabbed, shot, fallen out of? Like, what is his current health status? I was watching an episode of Archer in the final season, and they were going over all of the problems that Archer had physically in his body as part of like a joke. And they're like, I don't know, your kidney's just detached and just floating. Just like all these things about how Archer should be legally dead. And like they're like, I don't know, if you sneeze wrong, you might die. I was just like, no. I kind of feel like, I wonder if that's what Michael Myers is like. Like if a doctor examined him and they were like, oh my God, you've got like 42 bullets stuck in your body. How is this even possible? Just like, how are you walking? Because it's I don't know, I just think that stuff like that is funny. When you think about the accumulation over a period of time. Obviously, he got to have a little break for Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, But, anyway, I did want to end my spooky season, especially because it's Halloween, talking about Halloween, talking about one of the greatest slasher films of all time, one of the most iconic killers in a horror movie of all time, with one of the largest franchises of all time. So, went back to the beginning with Halloween, with Michael Myers, and I'm happy I did. I'm happy I went through this film again. I appreciate Carpenter's craft even more. I gotta say that in a weird way, the blindness kind of helped me appreciate the film instead of judging it. It's a 1978 independent film, so it was shot at the time, not necessarily with the highest quality of everything. He didn't have a massive budget. He kind of did this mostly on his own. Very sort of Robert Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez, I guess you could say, was a lot like John Carpenter. He came up alone by himself and was also fulfilling a lot of the tasks himself. He didn't just direct. He also edited. He did a lot of stuff in his own projects beyond directing. So John Carpenter is the same way. He just did it first. And he did it on a low budget. the names here really aren't that big. This was Jamie Lee Curtis's, and introducing Jamie Lee Curtis. So the fact that this has stood the test of time and endured so amazingly, and Michael Myers is so iconic after all these years, is such a huge compliment to John Carpenter's career. And I think the last time I saw this film, I was looking at it as being, man, this film needs restoration. This film looks really old. And and then sometimes a lot of these older films, they just didn't hold up well. There's something about film preservation where it wasn't a priority. Nobody really thought to themselves, oh, this is a classic and we should try to preserve it. Nowadays we shoot so many things on digital, or we've gotten things onto digital so quickly that the quality of the film ends up looking really still pretty good after a length of time, simply because of the fact that the film wasn't that old before we hit the digital age. So even if you weren't shot on digital, you were transferred really quickly to be part of the original like DVD revolution. So 1978 though, it took a while, for Halloween to get there, and it took maybe a little bit too long. And I don't know that over the years and anybody has really spent the time and care to actually restore Halloween in the way that maybe it should, maybe it deserves. So instead of having that sort of weird feeling where you're also kind of disappointed in the presentation quality, I didn't have that. I just was able to appreciate the plot from a story that I'd already seen, recalling certain memories, certain scenes, not all of them. I haven't seen this movie enough to there were scenes where I was like, oh, I forgot that happened. Oh, that's right. I literally forgotten some sections of the film because it's been so long, and B, I don't know. I haven't seen, with some movies I know them like the back of my hand. This is not one of those films. Have I seen Halloween? Yeah, absolutely. For some reason, the car scene, for example, I was anticipating that. I remembered that very well. I was like, when's the car scene? It's coming. I can feel it. But some of the other things, I was like, no, I don't know. So, yeah, when you don't have to see how degraded the film quality has gotten, it kind of helps to just focus in on all the other things, like the plot, the story, the characters, the acting, the soundtrack, and all those other things. And I'm not sitting there thinking about wow, man, what's up? God, why don't we restore this? Can we put this in the National Film Registry so that it has a chance of being preserved? Damn. Anyway, so if you've never seen Halloween, absolutely check this out. This film's older than I am, so I obviously was not around when it first came out theatrically, and I didn't check it out. I honestly believe my first watch was doing the thing as a little kid on cable when we had USA Up All Night and they ran movies kids were not supposed to be seeing, but I was up all night. So, and I watched a lot of horror movies back then. I've seen probably, I don't know, 50 movies where I've seen 10 to 15 minutes of them, because I caught 10 to 15 minutes of them on Up All Night, so I remember a chunk of them. So I think I did that with Halloween. I watched for a little while before I got too scared when I was 8. I was like, no, I can't do this. Get this movie away from me. And I think that was my first encounter with this film. But even though I haven't seen every single film in this franchise, I do enjoy it, and I am a fan. So I don't know really what else to say about this film. The audio description, I thought, like I already said with Tansy. I mean, it's great audio description. I kind of felt like she's having it. This, I don't think I needed to know that the blood was washing over the nipples, but at the same time, I appreciate the attention to detail in terms of audio description for showing me if the frame is just a boob with a nipple and the blood is sliding on the nipple and that's what we're supposed to be taking away in that moment, by all means, like I guess that's what I have to get. But if not, it's very weird to kind of pull such a focus on making sure. You could just say blood on her breasts, just something so weird about being so specific about making sure that we know that the blood is on the nipple. It's got blood on the nipple. It's fun. It does, when you do the narration though, it does really remind you that he was the Shape and not Michael Myers in the first film. Even though everybody knows he's Michael Myers, clearly he's still the Shape. So obviously that changes with the bajillion sequels we have, but this is where it all started, and the score is brilliant, and this film is a classic, and I don't think you needed me to say that, but today is Halloween, so I'm celebrating it by watching Halloween. I'm giving Halloween an A. That's it. I think it deserves it. I think it's earned its status as a classic, and belongs exactly where most people hold it in terms of the echelon of horror cinema. When was the first time you watched Halloween? Are you a little kid? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for following me this spooky season. I will do it again. It'll be the 3rd annual next year. Ooh, it feels weird to say that I'm creating sort of an event, but I'll be back next year where I hit you with a barrage of horror films. In the meantime, I'm still going to review horror films, but it's not like I don't ever watch a horror film the rest of the year. They get released in theaters, I have to watch them. So, yeah. But I did a horror movie every day. I did 31 horror movies this month. So, in addition to regular movies, and some of those were horror movies too. I just didn't put them in spooky season. So I actually reviewed more than 31. But, yeah, I'll be back next year doing it. So, until then, please click subscribe so you don't miss it. And you can get the rest of my content for the rest of the year. And I also have a website, MacTheMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on X, Threads, or Instagram at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the adna.org. That's the adna.org. It'll let you know more about Tansy and what else she's narrated. That's it. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.